Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode number 80. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and I'm so glad you are listening today. I have a special guest. I guess I met Diana about a year ago. We have been working together, and I absolutely love her. Diana Maier she was a lobbyist, a public defender, and she now owns her own law firm in the Bay Area where they focus on employment law and privacy law. And she's amazing in so many ways, but what we're going to talk about today is kind of her view of joy in the law and how she's kind of pushing boundaries and changing things. So Diana, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Heather. That was such a nice intro, too. I'm not sure I deserve all that, but I'll take it.
You do. So let's start with your journey, because a lot of listeners always feel like they don't know how people navigate the journey of making different career decisions. And you went from lobbyist to public defender to owning your own firm in employment and privacy law. And to me, those are big leaps, big differences. What really led you to make those decisions?
Yeah. Well, I guess in some ways the writing was on the wall that I was going to go to law school from the time I was a kid, but I fought it every step of the way. Both my parents are attorneys, although neither practiced for a particularly long time. And because of that, I swore I would never go to law school. Neither of them loved the law. And my mom took the bar a few times, and I was a kid then. So I watched her go through that, and that was really painful. And I was sure that would be my destiny if I went through law school. So I swore I would never go. But when I was on the Hill and started seeing what was going on there, after a while, I realized, I don't want to just be working on policy. I want to be working with individuals one-on-one and make an impact. And so public interest law seemed like the way to do that. And I thought a lot about like a counseling degree or something where I was working with individuals, but I just I thought I needed some degree that had a bit of power behind it. And I knew that I didn't want to be a corporate attorney. And so sooner or later, I just realized, though, that law school was the right place to be and that I could carve my path as I went. So I could find something that I really enjoyed.
I love it. So how did you make the leap from public defender to starting your own firm?
Well, when I left the public defender's office, I got connected with a lovely guy in the city. His name was Rod Bushnell. Still very friendly with him to this day. And he did plaintiff's employment work. And he was willing to basically take me under his wing and mentor me so I could learn employment law. And I did that. And then after a while, I realized, so I did all plaintiff's work actually for several years. And then after a while, I realized that I didn't really want to be doing plaintiff's work, that I actually thought employers in California were pretty darn good when it came to the law. And even if they weren't, I just was feeling very disillusioned, I guess, with litigation and how unsatisfactory it was for the plaintiff. And so I decided that I would go defense side. And so when I did that, I already was doing a lot of stuff on my own. By this time, though, I had become a partner with the firm, with Rod Bushnell's firm. It was Bushnell, Kaplan, Fielding, and Maier. But then when I decided to really do defense, and I think right around that same time I became pregnant, I realized, I'm just going to really become a lean shop and set up on my own and do exactly what I want. And that's what I did. And then eventually I just had more and more work coming in that necessitated hiring people to support that work. And it went from being law offices of Diana Maier to a few years ago became Maier Law Group.
So I think it's such a great example of how you can, like at any given moment, you can always make a new decision and shift your career. I think so many people feel as though they're stuck. So I love that you are an example of how you can just change your mind. And I want to talk about Maier Law Group because I think it is really innovative and leading the way as to what is possible in the law. So tell our listeners a little bit about your law firm and, why you created it the way you did and what you're hoping to achieve. I know this answer, but hopefully I'm pulling out what the story that I'm wanting you to share.
Yeah. So Maier Law Group, when I decided that I was going to go from being solo to being Maier Law Group, the first thing I was looking for was preferably a woman attorney. I thought, okay, I'm going to find a woman attorney who could be at a big corporate firm, a top-notch firm, but is choosing not to do that because maybe she has kids or she just wants balance. But who's a really excellent attorney. And I put in my job description that I wanted X, Y, and Z. And then she had to be kind, and KIND, kind. And that was what I found. I found a perfect person. Beth Arnese is her name. She's actually no longer with Maier Law Group. She now works for the government, but she is still a good friend and was a fantastic hire. And, from that time on, I just became very clear that the kind of women the kind of people I wanted to surround myself with, it just happens that everybody is female in my group. Now we've got 6 attorneys. I just hired someone new a couple of days ago. I don't think I told you that yet, but we're growing fast. And actually 3 contract attorneys, and everybody is female. Or 4 contract attorneys rather. So everyone's a woman. And I think it just lends itself to that. Attorneys that want balance, that really care about their work environment. Of course, I can't pay what a corporate firm does, but I can offer everything else that a lot of times women aren't getting in corporate firms: appreciation, balance, interesting work, a lot of positive reinforcement and feedback and camaraderie and just a really lovely working environment. And so from the beginning, I was just really clear, like, this is going to be a joyful law environment. And I want to do something really different and create the firm that I want to work in. And that's, I don't know that we've done it perfectly, but I think we've done a pretty darn good job of creating a pretty ideal law firm environment.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. I mean, everyone works remotely, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we have an office in Marin and we have an office in the city, but we're only there, once, maybe every week. Every other week we get together live in the city and have a day together. But either we're down with, visiting our clients. A lot of our clients are in the South Bay, San Jose, Palo Alto area, but either we're down with clients or we're working from home. And then we've just found these ways to keep the connection up during the day with phone calls and Slack and things like that.
But you all are very responsive. I mean, that's what's amazing to me. You've created this firm culture where everyone can, you're not working crazy hours. Everyone can work, wherever they want, but you're also very responsive to clients. I hear so many people say, well, that's not really possible, but I feel like you're a shining example that it is.
I hope so. Thank you. I really hope so. I think we are. I mean, to me, it's all about what are your values, right? And I think, we have core values on our website. I can read those too if you want to hear them. But, one of our big values is just huge customer service emphasis and really providing that for clients in a way that some of us weren't able to provide that when we were at other firms. So that is just really important to us. And I think one of the trade-offs that women today are seeing, which I think most women don't mind terribly about, is that in exchange for a lot of flexibility, being able to go in the middle of the day to a kid's, baseball game or show up at school or do whatever they need to do, they kind of need to be on call a little bit beyond traditional working hours. And, not for long, big calls necessarily, but just to be responsive. And I think that is what a lot of my employees feel, that they're willing to trade off. They don't want to have traditional working hours. And so it's not a big deal to them to just respond to a client right away, even if it's at night or sometimes even on the weekends, because in exchange, they're getting a lot of flexibility and it feels like there's a lot of freedom.
Yeah. To me, that just goes to show, though, you can totally craft and create whatever you want. You just have to make the different moving pieces work. I would actually love for you to share your core values because I really like them, and I like that you put them front and center on your website.
Sure. I'll read them to you. I just pulled them up. So our core values are: we treat everyone with dignity and respect. We are honest with ourselves and others. So most of us have a good amount of self-knowledge, and we're willing to take feedback, good and bad, or positive and constructive. Excellence is our standard. We are committed to constantly improving. And this is a big one. This should probably be first. We strive to create more joy in the lives of ourselves and others, including in the lives of lawyers outside of our firm. And I would say, as I've been redoing the website, one thing I've become really clear on is that we're striving to create more joy in the lives of our clients, that we're using the paradigm we've created and trying to export it as much as we can into our work. And, show clients that, yes, they can have workplaces that look like ours. And then the last three are: we own our mistakes and always make things right. We are fiercely loyal and compassionate. And we understand the importance of giving and receiving appreciation.
I love it. You go to so many lawyers' websites and they say the same old thing about how they're great lawyers. And I just love how you lead with your values. And to me, that really represents, when you talk about joy in the law, leading with your values, that's part of it for you. So, I know this is going to be a really loaded question, but how do you define joy in the law?
So to me, joy in the law is about attorneys that are really enjoying what they're doing, and they're doing it in their integrity. So they're not doing things that ethically compromise them. They're doing it from a place of compassion, and they're doing it really with joy. They're doing work that they really care about, they're passionate about, and that, maybe not every minute of the day, but most of the time they feel really good about and are really committed to. And I think that, that's possible for every lawyer. I think that all lawyers, if they do some combination of internal work, because I do think that a lot of times attorneys can be in the right job, but they don't have good life management skills. They don't have good self-care, and they don't really know how to get there. It's like part of our lawyer culture to not engage in those things. And then sometimes it really does necessitate making a move. Maybe it's a move out of traditional law, but a lot of times I think it's a combination of the two, of finding the right fit and also doing some internal work that will allow an attorney to engage with their work in a new way, or to tune into what it is in their work that's not making them happy, that they need to change.
And I know that mindfulness is really important to you, as it is to me. How has that impacted your career, your, legal practice, your life, really?
Yeah. So, so many ways. I guess the biggest way is probably that it really helps me stay focused on my goal of, what do I want to most be in the world? I want to be a kind person. I want to make a positive difference. And so when I get sidetracked from my goal, which of course I do a lot like everybody else, but when I have a conversation with opposing counsel and I lose it, or I get really upset about something and I get in my story about this is so unjust or unfair, and I start to feel like this lawyer on the other side is not, maybe an enemy is too strong a word, but just start to get into kind of othering and, that kind of a place, I really remember to just rein it back in and to be kind and to be caring and, just to really hold my values at the top of everything that I do. And when I make a mistake, I own it. I've had times where I do have a very emotional side and I do have a strong sense of justice. And I've had times where I've had to apologize and just say, I'm really sorry. I know I got on my high horse and I know I raised my voice. And, so I try to act like the person, my best self, the person that I really want to be in the world, and not like the person that my lawyer training has taught me to be. Because I also truly believe and am passionate about that the former is a much more productive state of affairs for my clients. Being in that place is going to get a lot more results for my clients than being hyperbolic. That's like my pet peeve among attorneys, writing these letters full of invective and exaggerations and just trying to write a down-to-earth letter saying like, yes, there's some issues here in our case, but we also have all these great things, and let's get on the phone and try and hash this out and talk through where we can meet in the middle if we can.
Yeah. Let's say when you get the opposing counsel who's just not willing to engage in a very mindful and down-to-earth way, how does your mindfulness or your desire to be joyful help you not let them take you out? Because that's what so many attorneys complain about. It's just that, it's just so hard to manage the adversarial nature of law.
It is hard. It's really hard. And that's why, I know we're going to talk about in a minute the Join the Law conference, but that's why we've done this conference twice now. We have a big thing in both conferences devoted to conflict. But, I try different things. I remember once about 6 or 7 years ago, I had a deposition with a really aggressive attorney, and I felt he was being just really a jerk. I don't know how else to put it. Like just really really needlessly demeaning, not to me, but to my client. And just who was a pretty much of an innocent bystander. Actually, it wasn't my client. It was a witness on behalf of my client. So that was just so unnecessary. But, I just kept coaching my client along, and I sent him metta, which is loving kindness meditation. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you have a nice life, and I just tried to focus on the fact that he was probably a pretty miserable human being, or at least in that moment he was, like that this does not come from a place of happiness or healthiness. And, that's not to say I do remember at one point I basically said, if you can't control yourself and speak with respect to my client, I'm pulling my witness and we're out of here. And he said, you can't do that basically. And I said, watch me, so it's not like believe me, I have a mama bear side. It's not like I just sit there and take it, but I was able to say it calmly. It just didn't, I was able to evaluate my options calmly and say, okay, what if I do that? What's the judge going to say? Okay, well, I can say this to the judge. Okay, yeah, that seems like if I have to, I'm just going to have to walk out of the room, So that allowed me to stay somewhat calm.
Yeah, so many people think that if you're going to be mindful or joyful, that you're ineffective. And I could not disagree more. When you can remove yourself, not be personally attached. And when you can listen, to be truly listening, not to responding, and you can stay cool, calm, and collected, not just on the exterior, but the interior as much as possible, I think it allows you to be a better advocate. And it sounds like that's your experience as well.
I totally agree. And I think, in terms of just getting beyond conflict in terms of, we do a lot of advice and counsel, a lot of trainings, a lot of investigations. And the kind of input we give to our clients, I think is kind of revolutionary in terms of, not just worst case scenario advice, but hey, if you want to build the best workplace that you can, and you want to have a place where your employees are really happy, let's move beyond compliance and really think about how you reflect that culture in your policies and your actions and what you say and do. And I think that's really important, instead of just this traditional lawyer model of dealing with conflict and, managing risk, basically.
Yeah. So let's talk about the conference. Was it 2 years ago that you started this?
Yeah, we did the first one in 2016, and then we took a year off. It was just a lot of work. And you know how it is. I have a great committee of people that's really helpful, but still so much of it comes down to me. And it's just a lot of work. So we took 2017 off and did sort of a smaller version of the conference, just a group of us. And then we're going to do it again now on September 28th.
So tell me how the Joy in the Law conference even came about.
Yeah, so I have a meditation teacher, James Baraz, who I love, Baraz. This is how you spell his last name. He's started a course called Awakening Joy, and he has a book by the same title, and he has this online course he does. Every year he puts it on. Every year it's slightly different. He's got different permutations of it. And every year, actually, I've done it. And he also does an Awakening Joy meditation retreat every year. And I've gone now 2 years in a row. And I was on that retreat, and it's all about basically how you generate more joy in your life. And actually, I started reading the book when I was in just a down and out place with my law practice, where I was feeling just not my law practice in general, but just my life. Like I was so caught up in the drudgery of just the less fun stuff about having young kids, like all the things I had to schlep them to, and just the getting up early and not getting enough sleep, and then my law practice and kind of the drudgery of that. And I just felt like I wasn't having very much joy in my life. And so I started reading his book, and it was really groundbreaking for me. I found that within a month or two, I had a completely different attitude and was full of joy. I mean, it was pretty amazing. Now I have many, many years of meditating. So I was kind of prime and ready for that. I just needed to remind myself to get into that mindset of just, finding the joy in the present moment. But it was really awesome for me. And when I went on this retreat, for whatever reason, I started thinking about how lucky I'd been as an attorney to always have enjoyed my work and how much I wanted that for other lawyers. And when I came back from that retreat, there was a group of women lawyers that I had started gathering in Marin County, where I live, just for marketing and collaboration and, sistership, basically. And I said to them, I really want to plan a Join the Law conference. What do you think of that? And they all said, great. And that was like in the end of May or early June. And I said, okay, let's do it in September. I had no idea what a short time frame that was.
Wow.
Yeah. But we did it, and we pulled it off.
So tell me about what's coming up in September. Who are your speakers? Like, if people want to come, whether they're in the Bay Area or want to fly in and join you, like, what can they expect?
Yeah. So this is September 28th. It's in Marin County in Corte Madera, which is the same venue we had it last time. It's a full day's conference. We've got 3 CLE credits, and the morning we're going to start with James Baraz, who's the person who authored that course in that book I was just telling you about. And he spoke in 2016 and was a huge hit. And then a woman, Judy Cohen, who is also a longtime meditation practitioner and a lawyer, and she has a group called Warrior One. She's also a lecturer at Berkeley Law. He and myself are going to talk about, basically how to generate more joy in daily life. And Judy is going to focus on how are lawyers trained that is a real joy killer. So, what are things we learn to do as attorneys, or we even learn in law school, that make it really hard to feel a lot of joy in our jobs? And then we're going to take a look at that. And James, I think one thing James is great at is just kind of talking about day-to-day practices that generate joy. And the natural state of mind is to be joyful. We have to just sort of shrug off some of these things that we learn. So I think that's going to be a really great partnership. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing in that mix, but they want me to be involved in it. And so I'll be talking about some aspect of that. And that'll be the morning. It'll be lecture and breakout sessions. So there'll be some time for dyads and, networking with other like-minded attorneys. And then we'll have a nice long lunch break. Because the one thing people said from last year, 2016's conference, is that they wanted more time to meet these other incredible lawyers who showed up to this. So we're trying to do a lot of that with more, dyads and things like that, and the longer lunches. And then in the afternoon, we're having Steve Rosenberg, who is really a household name in the Bay Area and probably beyond as well in mediation and conflict resolution. He does lots of trainings in the Bay Area on that. And he's going to talk about conflict and basically the difference between positive and negative conflict and how to deal with conflict in a way that's healthy. And then finally, in the last one in the afternoon, we're going to have a panel discussion on transforming suffering into joy. And that's going to be a number of different panelists, 2 of whom are attorneys, 2 of whom are not, interestingly. But they're going to just talk about different challenges that come for attorneys in particular, and then just people in general, and how our traditional kind of Western response to those things may not always be that helpful, and give us some really solid tools for responding to life's challenges so that we can be in joy more often. And I think it's going to be a great panel. And I don't know how many people will be there exactly, but I expect we had probably 85 attorneys in 2016. And we didn't have, we already have like almost 50 people signed up, and the conference is still 2 months out. So my guess is I'm hoping that we'll fill, and filling would probably be 100 or slightly over. And then we have a whole bunch of sponsors as well that'll be there, and we're going to have to fit somewhere. So it should be a lively and quite full conference.
It sounds amazing. And I will say, for those of you listening, if you're interested, go to joyinthelaw.com, and we'll put that in our show notes. This is the crazy part. It's only $79 if you sign up by August 20th. That's the day that early bird ends. So if you are interested in attending, definitely sign up and go spend the day with Diana and an amazing group of other attorneys that want to experience joy in the law and do things differently. So I have to say, as we're kind of wrapping up and concluding, for me, the takeaway, when I look at Diana or as we're having this conversation, it's just that you can be the change you want to see. So, Diana created the firm that she wanted. She didn't say, how is everyone else doing it? She just went ahead and created what she wanted it to look like. When she wanted to make a change in her career, she did that. When she wanted to find more joy, she sought it out. And when she wanted to bring it to other attorneys, she said, hey, let's do a conference in just a few months. So Diana, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing your thoughts and your inspiration and motivation. And I hope that the listeners either come join you on September 28th for the conference, or at least be inspired to go find a little bit more joy and just create what they want to see.
Thank you so much. And can I just mention one last thing, Heather?
Absolutely.
We have monthly groups in the Bay Area too on this topic. So like that Marin group that I was telling you about that planned the 2016 conference, we now call ourselves Joy in the Law, and we meet every month in Marin. And there's one in San Francisco as well. So should anyone be listening to this that's in the Bay Area or might visit the Bay Area and can't make the conference, reach out and we'll connect you with one of those groups, because we do believe all people can benefit. The conference, by the way, is co-ed. The Joy in the Law groups, the small groups, are for women only, but the conference is co-ed. And reach out so that we can show you other ways that you can get involved or just stay on top of these issues.
Absolutely. And if you're not in the Bay Area and you want a conference or your own group, come up with your own name and go create your own. Don't wait around for people like Diana to come to you. Go create it. Diana, thank you so much. And everyone else, I will see you next week.
Thank you, Heather.
For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.